the governing body has a presentation that we've prepared for the residents this evening. You see it up on the screen. It's a brief overview. I expect that it'll probably take about 10 minutes to go through it. It's going to give a little bit of an overview of COA, the West Farms Road project, and some questions that we've all received, phone calls and emails about. So the purpose is to try to give a little bit of an overview of where we are to help set the stage for what I expect will dominate the rest of the discussion this evening. When I get done with the presentation, we will have as I promised, we will have a 1-hour public session where any member of the public can come up and speak. We will cap it at 1 hour, 5 minutes apiece for each person who wants to speak. You will have a second opportunity to ask us any questions you want when the public hearings for the two individual ordinances that are being presented relative to the West Farms Road project. And as I promised, I will run those as long as we can, understanding that we have business of the township that we have to complete, and we will do everything we can so that we can receive all of your input. So you'll have an hour at the beginning, and we will extend it as we need to when we get to the individual ordinances, okay? All right, so the items that we put together, we decided that in order for everybody to understand what was going on and give you some facts and give you some ideas of what was in the minds of the governing body when these items were being contemplated and put on the agenda, we wanted to be able to talk to some of the items. And again, you're going to have the opportunity to ask any questions about this presentation or any questions that you have as we get through this. I wanted to talk a little bit about what COA was for those of you who don't understand what the Council on Affordable Housing is and how this affects Howell Township and where we currently are with that legislation. I wanted to make sure that everybody understood what Howell Township's current obligations are according to the legislation, and to provide you the actual status to date with our numbers of where we are with that plan. I want to explain what a pilot program is in general and give you some overviews of what pilot programs we already have in force within the municipality and explain why we've done them. I also think it's important for all of us to know what's going on with our peer communities. There was some concern that why are we doing this? Why are we different than other neighboring municipalities? We have some information about what's going on in other neighboring municipalities as we speak to let you know that this is not just a Howell Township issue. And of course, we're going to talk specifically about the West Farms Road project and answer why are we doing this now and why is this time sensitive. So the first topic is to talk about COA. COA is a mandate that came from the Mount Laurel Doctrine, otherwise known as the Fair Housing Act in the state of New Jersey's Constitution. Mount Laurel 1 was originated in 1975. They came through litigation, which was followed up by follow-up litigation for Mount Laurel 2 in 1983. This is a state legislative mandate that requires all municipalities and state agencies that have the authority to plan, zone, and take affirmative action to create realistic opportunities for people to be able to take advantage of affordable housing opportunities. There's a qualification process that you have to go through in order to be someone who can take advantage of an affordable housing development. The items are all listed right there. You have to be a citizen, be 18 years old. Some of these are purchase as well as rental, so you have to qualify for it in terms of income. You need to provide documentation, and you need to meet criteria, credit criteria for landlord and mortgage requirements. Some of the people that are currently taking advantage of affordable housing within our community right now, we have teachers, police officers, volunteer and career firefighters, some of our public works staff, some senior citizens, and most importantly to me, recent college graduates are currently people within the municipality, residents within this municipality that are currently taking advantage of affordable housing programs that are available in the municipality right now. Some very important, how to apply for affordable housing. You know what, I actually don't have that slide. On the screen, actually go back to it. Sorry, this is an update. So some people have asked on what you have to do in order to be able, if you feel that you qualify for affordable housing, what would you do? There's an application process that you have to submit. The municipality has a consultant. We have a representative of that consulting firm that's here tonight that will also be able to answer your questions. We also, that consultant is the person that actually helps our residents put together the applications and be able to have those submitted so that they can be reviewed. Once they get reviewed, there's a qualification process. Once you qualify, you're notified that you do qualify or you don't qualify, again, based on predominantly the income criteria as well as the other items that I mentioned. Once it's determined that you do qualify, we ask if you're still interested in affordable housing. If affordable housing is available for you, our consultant helps you negotiate through the lease agreements or the purchase agreements. There's some options if it's affordable housing for a purchase, where they would assist you with financing, getting information on financing the actual loan. If we do not have enough available housing for you at the time you submit your application, there are waiting lists and lottery procedures, which we'll explain a little bit more. We actually have some waiting lists on some current properties now. You would be eligible to be a part of the lottery, and through that lottery, by luck of chance, you could be drawn that you would be able to take advantage of one of the affordable housing units. Some of the current changes that are going on and why this is all going on now. If you remember several years ago in the press, Governor Christie took COA and essentially abolished at that time COA, which remanded all of the affordable housing decisions to be remanded back to the courts. After several years, that process is now coming out of the courts and is remanded back to the municipalities for us to continue working on our plans. In 2008, we were in the process of submitting our third round obligation plan for review by COA. At that time, we were required, based on those calculations, to be able to provide an additional 870 units of affordable housing. As I said before, our plan was approved. Governor Christie remanded COA and brought it back to the courts. In September in 2015 is when it was taken back out of the courts, and a special master judge was assigned to review Howell's current status and our plan. We have a deadline of October 9th where we had to formulate a plan. That plan was put together based on input from the governing body as well as our professionals. The deadline for all of the parties to confer and review all those compliance standards occurred on October 14th in order for us to receive additional bonus credits. On October 24th, we have a deadline for all of the parties to contact the special master to conduct further discussions if we feel they're appropriate. And then at the very beginning of November is when we actually get through the formal review with a judge to determine that everything that we said we did is actually what we are doing. So let's talk a little bit about what the obligations are in Howell Township right now. As I said, our third round was a number that was calculated to be 870 units of affordable housing. We currently have an inventory of 255 approved units that are in force right now, and they consist of all of the items that are shown there. And these are some of the many options that are available to municipalities in order to satisfy this obligation. We have extensive rehabilitations of existing homes, some that were damaged during storms, some that have been dilapidated, some of them that were bank-owned, that were bought on short sales, where we were able to fund the reconstruction of some of these homes and be able to get credit towards our affordable housing for that. We have single-family developments, which are portions of various residential developments that have hearings for approval before planning and zoning boards. We have single-family rental units, the biggest of which is the most common one that people pass every day, which is Verdana. I believe many people are familiar with that. It's located at the intersection of Route 9 and Sunnyside. And this is where we're able to start to quantify this a little bit. We actually have applications there. That is actually one of the properties where there is a waiting list and a lottery. There are currently over 4,000 applicants that have applications on file to be able to move into one of the 60 units that's there for affordable housing. And out of that 4363, we know that 366 of them are current Howell residents. So that in itself demonstrates that we clearly have a need for affordable housing within Howell Township. We have another project that was done specifically with the special needs component, which is a CABE. For those of you who are not familiar with that, that was a hearing that was proposed several years ago to the planning and zoning boards. It was rejected. The project was downsized. It was not very attractive to the governing body. We asked if there was an opportunity to be able to bring in an affordable housing component of that development. It went from 70 some odd units down to 60 units, of which 1/3 have a special needs, developmentally challenging aspect to it, which we certainly know there's a need for within our community. The construction for that facility is not even completed yet, and we already have 250 pending applications for that. So once again, clearly demonstrating we have a need for affordable housing in Howell Township. We also have in the past used assisted living residences and regional contribution assistance, RCAs. In the past, we have made contributions from our Affordable Housing Trust Fund in order to be able to buy credits in neighboring municipalities. In the third round obligation, that was an option that was removed. We do not know if there is the opportunity to do that again, but it is part of our plan. As I've said before, we think as we go through this review now, we think we're going to have anywhere between 870 and 1,000 affordable housing units, which the courts are going to tell us are going to be part of our plan. And some people have asked me, well, are there ways that we can buy credits? Yes, we can do that. But with $900,000, you clearly are not going to be able to buy 1,000 affordable units. So as you know, there's an ordinance on for tonight where part of the funding for the West Farms Road project is through a pilot program. A pilot program is otherwise known as a payment in lieu of taxes. It is a tax, even though the wording kind of indicates that it's not, but it is a tax. It's a way to provide upfront funding to the township based on a negotiated percentage of the rental income, as opposed to the way most properties are handled, residential being assessments and businesses based on income that comes into that business. Past pilot programs that the municipality has done in past years, negotiated, ranged anywhere from 3.5% to 5%. You're probably all well aware that this is an 8% pilot. The funding only goes to the municipality. The money that the municipality gets is actually slightly more than we would be getting into the municipality only if it was just a straight assessed tax. However, that tax only goes to the municipal entity and a small share to the county. So the Board of Ed, the fire departments, other taxing entities they are not the recipients of any additional taxes. Currently, as we speak, excluding Akabe, we currently have 4 active. The one development is Akabe, which is done under a pilot agreement. The total payments of that are $412,000, give or take, which represents about 42% of what the total amount would be if they were on the tax rolls based on the tax rate in 2014. So clearly, a pilot is paying a tax. So people have been asking me over the last 2 weeks, why are we doing this? Is this particular project the only way that we can limit development? Because everybody's afraid of development. Nobody wants to see additional housing go up in their area. And the answer to that is yes, there are other ways, and this governing body has been employing those ways for many years, including the entire time that I've been on the governing body. And these are the ways that we've done it to date. We've aggressively litigated appeals for rejected developers. Contrary to what some people believe, not every application gets a yes vote at the planning and zoning boards. And sometimes those applications get appealed when the answer is no. And we do actually go and we show up in court and we try to defend those. And sometimes we win and sometimes we don't. We have done some restrictive measures. We've put some occupancies within our planning and zoning. We see what goes on in other municipalities. We understand what the concern is in Howell Township, and this governing body over the last 18 months has changed our zoning to allow certain things that we feel would eventually lead to additional residential growth in areas that we don't want, specifically schools and places of worship. They've been excluded in current zones. They've been restricted in other zones. They've been made conditional uses in certain zones. These are major changes that occurred to our zoning ordinances over the last 18 months. We aggressively do a farmland preservation program. If you saw an agenda tonight, you'll see that there was an item that was added on. We're currently in negotiations with including another parcel of open space preservation, the Thompson Farm, which is a joint purchase between ourselves, the state, and the county. We do these as often as we can, but again, the funds to do so are limited. You're paying a tax for it, and we're very frugal with the way we spend that money. And again, we also want to make sure that we put infrastructure where we need to put infrastructure so that it controls the development in the areas that we want to see development. And that's one of the reasons this governing body moved forward with the Freewood Acres Sewer Project, which is a $13.5 million sewer project, the likes that we have not seen in Howell Township history for infrastructure before. So at the end of the day, what is this that we're all worried about? And the term gets loosely thrown around. It's called a builder's remedy lawsuit. So because we're afraid of it, I want to make sure I have an opportunity to tell you what it's all about. A builder's remedy lawsuit is just a legal hearing that can be taken by a developer to force a municipality to permit a large residential multifamily housing complex or structure. The lawsuits are used by developers to force the construction, which usually come with a maximum 20% affordable housing contribution, and they use that to take advantage of some of the unfair COA mandates that we feel they're unfair with the numbers that get presented from the legislature. The reality is that these mandates and these builders' remedy lawsuits don't do anything to benefit the municipality. They benefit the builder because the builders aren't from Howell. They want to be able to take advantage of everything they can, and the courts are letting them do that. We're very much afraid that if we don't go forward with our plan and a judge says, you know what, Howell Township, you're not doing everything you said that you were going to do, I'm going to let every developer that wants to come in to be able to put in whatever they want, wherever they want, we're going to let them do that. And that's happening in some municipalities neighboring us right now, and I'll give you some examples of that. The only solution to be able to do that is to aggressively put a plan together that includes affordable housing complexes and projects that make sense. And I know we're all going to sit here tonight and debate whether or not the West Farms Road project makes sense, but the governing body right now feels that this is one that does make sense, and we'll give you the reasons for that as well. So let's talk about what's going on in some other municipalities. These are the municipalities that we compare ourselves with on generally all the actions that we do. It's never a good thing for a municipality to stand out on their own on an island for a long period of time, good or bad. So I gave you some towns that show what's going on right now, and quite honestly, we're all in the same boat. And out of the 6 municipalities that are listed here, there's really only one that's doing nothing, because I've heard that. I've heard people say, well, what if you just don't do anything? What if you just tell the courts that you're not going to do anything? What's the repercussion? Well, the repercussion is Marlboro, because Marlboro did just that, and they currently have 10 builders' remedy lawsuits that are at their door right now waiting for a judge to decide whether or not those 10 projects can come in and be built any way they want without any planning or zoning board having any say in anything that goes on. I don't want to be Marlboro. Okay? Again, these are all the items of what everybody is doing. You can see what their numbers are. You can see that everybody has large numbers. This is not just a Howell issue. We're all in this together. I don't think there's an elected official from any of these municipalities, Republican, Democrat, Independent, it doesn't matter. I think none of us like what goes on with COA, but we're all in the same boat, and you can see that the numbers support all of that. So let's talk about what you're all here to talk about tonight, which is the West Farms Road project. Let's clear up some misconceptions about it right now. The land is currently owned through a donation. The owner of that property is in negotiation with a developer. The developer is called the Walters Group, and the plan currently shows 72 residential units, all of which would be 100% affordable. Tonight, the governing body is considering 2 ordinances in regard to this proposal. One ordinance creates the approval of a site-specific inclusionary zone, which will qualify it for affordable housing. And the second one is the approval of the 8% pilot program for this project specifically. Because it's a affordable housing component that's 100% rentable, we get a 2-for-1 credit out of it, which would mean this project alone would generate 144 credits towards our affordable housing plan. That's the number one item that's making this project attractive to the municipality. So why are we doing it all right now? Clearly, Howell Township has a need for affordable housing. I demonstrated that with the applications that we have pending, the projects that we're in the process of building right now, and the need that we have for various facets of our community to have to take advantage of affordable housing. I mentioned the 2-for-1 credit towards our obligation. If we did not do this project or any type of project that gives us this 2-for-1 credit, if you do the math that we have approximately, whatever the number is, I think on the slide, I think it's 600 units I put, and you divide that by 20%, that would mean we would have several thousand residential properties that we would have to put in place in order to satisfy what we knew was our obligation 3 years ago when we submitted our third round plan. Now, I know everybody is all upset because they see 72 units out there. But can you imagine what Howell Township would look like if a judge sitting in some municipality in some county that we don't even know, that we've never met, said, guess what, Howell Township, now you have to come up with 800 units, and the only way you can do it is conventional building. And to do that, you have to come up with thousands and thousands of residential units in Howell Township. That in itself would drastically affect the quality of life of every resident in Howell Township, not just those living off of West Farms Road, Route 9, and Fort Plains Road. This particular project meets all of the requirements for the developer to satisfy the available funding for affordable housing. It needs to be near transit areas, it needs to be in areas that have infrastructure, sewer, and water, and it has to be available for commerce. So it can't be located in the middle of Howell Township, it can't be located next to the reservoir. It has to be a place where people can work, build a life, go to work, shop, take advantage of transportation. We vetted the Walters Group. The Walters Group is a reputable builder, a developer of affordable housing. There have been several other projects that have been submitted to the municipality that have already been rejected. There are no plans for any other project as we sit here today, although there are discussions going on for a parcel that is located in the southern part of the municipality, which may include a piece of land that the municipality currently owns on Route 9 in Estelle. In the very near future, we are proposing going out to bid for a company to purchase that land from the municipality at a profit, and also to bring in a firm that would actually represent us to be able to go and do a similar project and do it in a way that the governing body feels is attractive to also satisfy our affordable housing goal. If that project is not attractive, we will not do it. But it is the same process that we're going through tonight with this particular parcel on West Farms Road. Once this discussion takes place tonight, we are not approving anything tonight. We are not approving the actual development itself. It still has to be heard at the planning board. Once it's presented to the planning board, which is tentatively scheduled for October 29th, it will be the same as every other residential application that comes before the planning board, where they have to satisfy the requirements of the municipal land use law and topics such as traffic, congestion, impact to the environment, impact to the neighboring municipalities. That application will be judged on its own merit and will be voted on by the panel of 9 people, which makes up the planning board. This particular application and these approvals and these ordinances are specific to the Walters Group only. If the current owner does not follow through with the contracted agreement that he has in place with the Walters Group, the 2 ordinances that we vote on tonight will be excluded. They will no longer be enforced. So if the current property owner says, you know what, I really don't want to do this, I don't want to do residential, I want to do something else, or I want to bring in somebody other than the Walters Group, the action that we may take tonight will be null and void and would not be able to move forward. The reason that the pilot program is needed is because the Walters Group needs to secure additional funding in order to offset the revenue that they're not going to get, because they're not going to be getting market rate rentals for these. So it's a business issue, and in order for them to be able to meet the points that they need in order to gain their funding, one of the items on their application has to show that the municipality is willing to partner up with them, and the pilot is the way to demonstrate on that application that they're willing to do so. Quite honestly, if there's no pilot, there's no development, and we don't meet our obligations for COA. It's as simple as that. There is a priority for this particular project for qualified Howell Township residents. Part of the funding that's coming from this project to the Walters Group is something otherwise known as Sandy money. That allows us the opportunity for a brief period of time, for 90 days, to be able so that Howell Township residents can be the first priority, those residents that had some adverse effect from Hurricane Sandy, whether you were displaced, whether you sustained damage, whatever the qualifying factors are. If you were affected by Sandy and you're a Howell resident, you automatically move to the top of that list. After 90 days, a general waiting list will be established, and it'll go through the lottery process that I previously described under the application criteria. And most important, at least most important to me, and I'm sure the rest of the governing body will echo these sentiments during the rest of the night, if we don't demonstrate that we're moving forward with a plan for affordable housing that could leave us vulnerable to the builder's remedy lawsuits, a judge anywhere can go along with whatever a developer is asking them to do for any type of residential housing, anywhere within the township, and with absolutely no controls or oversight by any board or governing body. I don't want that to happen. Okay? That's the highlights of the plan. Anybody on the governing body have any comments or questions about that? Okay.